Do we have the 15 names for the Hall of Fame?
Oh, I saw that recently. Yeah, it just came out, right?
Do you have that? Can you find that? Because, I always champion the offensive lineman. And, there's a couple of names that I bring up, and I think both are on the final 15, if you can check that for me, McLovin. Todd, do you have it?
Looking at it right now, I see Troy Polamalu, Reggie Wayne, John Lynch, Steve Atwater, Baselli, Isaac Bruce, Leroy Butler, Torrey Holt, Steve Hutchinson, Alan Faneca, Edgerrin James, Sam Mills, Richard Seymour, Zach Thomas, Bryant Young.
Because, man, you got a couple of linemen on there. Faneca might get in there before. Tony Baselli has been nominated, and I just know the eye test. When I saw Baselli play, he was special. Jimbo Covert, to me, with the Chicago Bears, was special. Just different. Athletic, not big plodding lineman. Steve Hutchinson, he was great too. But I always try to champion the offensive lineman because, you're trying to figure out, like, what stats do you have? How many sacks did you give up, or how many holding penalties did you have? That's about it. Or how many 1,000-yard rushers did you have behind you? But Jimbo Covert, Tony Baselli, I hope they get that opportunity. Yeah, Paul.
Torrey Holt, wide receiver, Isaac Bruce, wide receiver, mostly with the Rams with their heydays. Yeah. They might cancel each other out. I don't know. You almost wish that Rams team could go in as a group, like a band. Like, it's a Hall of Fame. If you could almost do a display on one of the great offensive teams of all time and put the entire Rams offense in as some type of group award. I know they don't do that, but it feels like a slight not to have them in there sometimes.
Have they changed the process, McLovin, with the Hall of Fame?
Well, isn't there some big class this year that everyone's going to get in? Remember we said Tagliabue's going to get in this year because of some extra class? I'll find out. Yeah, like more guys who miss it the first time around get a shot. I don't know why.
No, the process of telling you how you got in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's changed? I thought it was a knock on the door from that big guy who runs the Hall of Fame.
But why? So they have everybody in a room, I believe. And that, I just think it's unfair. It's painful that they knock on the door and then they say, you're in and you're in and you're in and you're in and the rest of you aren't. Like, why does it have to be almost humiliating if you don't make it to the Hall? I can't imagine what that would be like. If you don't get the call, you don't get a knock on the door, and you're just sitting there, and then all of a sudden you disperse. And everybody's like, and then they walk right onto the stage, I think, the NFL Network, and Rich Eisen interviews them. Yeah, Paulie.
The Hall of Fame board recently passed a resolution that suspended the Hall of Fame's selection committee bylaws for the class of 2020, just this summer. The measure is intended to honor the NFL's centennial celebration through a special centennial class that will be comprised of 20 members in 2020, 5 modern-era players and 10 senior players, 3 contributors, and 2 coaches. It's like they're going to do a one-time correction this summer. So it's going to be the biggest class by far in history. There will be 20 people this summer, mandatory.
Yes, Todd.
Our friend Rich Eisen was listening in, as he always is, and wanted to help us out with this.
Rich, thanks for joining us. Are they still doing that painful process of how they inform these guys that they're in or not?
Well, what it used to be was totally unorganized, where players, they knew they were finalists, but they didn't have a place to be. Like, literally, the year Warren Moon was getting in, he would be driving around the circumference of the city of the Super Bowl that he knew he had a shot to get in, and he told me that he was either going to head to the convention center where he heard his name called or head to the airport. So now they have like a luncheon for finalists, and they sit in a hotel room with their loved ones and wait for a knock on the door that either comes or it doesn't.
God, that might be worse, Rich.
I don't know. I'm telling you, some guys wouldn't even, like Harry Carson didn't make it so many times. You remember he told them to take him out of consideration. The year he got in, he said, screw it. I'm not even going to be at the Super Bowl. I'm flying to Hawaii. He landed at baggage claim, turned on his phone, is like, you have 90 messages. And he turned around and went back, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Now he's actually, I told him last year, he didn't realize he's now been in the Hall of Fame longer than he had to wait. You know, but this year, because it's a class of 2020, they're going to have a special group a blue ribbon panel of experts vote on people that aren't in the class that you just mentioned, the group that you just mentioned, the normal, if you will, conventional group, where they're going to, I don't know the exact number, like 8, Veterans Committee people and 3 coaches, 2 contributors. I might be screwing up the numbers, but it's going to create a class of 20 for 2020. And I just don't know, personally, this is more personal in a way than professional and personal together. I think they might have like 2 different induction ceremonies this weekend, one that's the conventional one and the one that for the other class that's going to make it a bigger class for 2020.
Is there,
that's what's all going on.
are they told how long they can go? Are they,
Oh, yeah.
But nobody listens.
They used to, that's correct. That is absolutely correct. It used to be the worst speeches when you're sitting there, you'd hold your breath, is when somebody goes up there and says, "I have no notes." That was always the worst one. Now it's all written, it's all in a prompter, and it goes on absolutely forever. They used to, as you remember, they used to have the presenters give speeches too.
Oh, I know.
But that ended the year where Steve Young's dad, Grit, got up and wound up speaking longer than Steve did because he had a Jordan-esque list of all the people who slighted his son throughout his life and went right down one by one. And then later on, after they said that you need to type up your speeches and speak, if you're a presenter, Ted Cottrell went on forever one year introducing Bruce Smith, but the worst one for me was the year I was the actual MC of the event.
Yeah.
Because Berman introduced Ralph Wilson, and they said you can't MC and be a presenter. So I MC'd the event, and that's when Bullet Bob Hayes went in, and that's also when Derek Thomas went in, and the rule was the presenter could only speak for 5 minutes because they were, introducing somebody who was deceased. So Bullet Bob Hayes was introduced by Roger Staubach. The Navy man went 5 minutes on the dot. And then Carl Peterson, the longtime GM of Kansas City, introduced Derek Thomas with a corker of a 20-minute speech that went on so long, I was able to get up from the stage to go backstage to ask the hall what I should do. At which point, as I heel turned to go back on the stage, I found Roger Staubach staring me down, saying, "Hey, Rich, I thought you're supposed to only speak for 5 minutes." And he's going on for 4 times as long. At which point, I thought to myself, the 6-year-old who watched Dallas Cowboys football games in my Staten Island basement is flipping out that Roger Staubach's talking to me. And my current self was like, "Oh my God, Roger Staubach is bitching me out. What do I say to this?" So that's the history of the speeches.
All right. Hey, thanks for calling in.
All right, DP.
All right. That's Rich Eisen.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.